Newsflash is brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise. Still, fun papa fee. Newsflash is brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise. Still, fun papa fee.
Hi there, thanks for staying with us here on Prime On, and it's time for us to get into Newsflash. It's proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise. So, folks, Papa this morning, Franco Trading Enterprise is inviting you to come as you celebrate a day like this. Walk into any of our branches and get yourself some very beautiful home appliance. And if you're looking forward to getting some phones, some Nokia, some Samsung, iPhone, you can get when you walk into any of our branches. Now, we've got Franco air conditions, and also we've got refrigerators for you. CCTV cameras, you can buy them to monitor your home and your offices as well. And it's pretty simple. All you have to do is to just walk into our branch anywhere you find yourself, and you can actually purchase from us. We're giving you 40% discount on accessories that you buy from us as well. And yes, it's Franco Trading Enterprise. Still, phones Papa fee. Call the numbers on your screens, and you can do business with us by also downloading the Franco Trading app. It's on Google Play Store. Our website is www.francotrading.com, and you're good to go. Franco Trading is still here, and it's the brand that we believed in over the years, and we entreat you to go and buy from them. Franco Trading Enterprise says still phones Papa fee, and we're grateful to them this morning. Newsflash is proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise. Still phones Papa fee. This morning we're getting to the conversation, and well, it's a holiday, and so we might going to be engaging you a lot. We'll be taking a lot of your comments and contribution here on the show. Our WhatsApp line is active. You can also send to us on Facebook. We're streaming live on Facebook, so you can just drop your messages over there and share with us. Now, also, you know that we are celebrating the hard-working young men and women of this nation, and so you can join us and send your messages over there. Let us know which profession are you into, and what are you doing in terms of your contribution to the nation's development. All right, so share with us, and as we celebrate all workers out there, we want to also hear from you. Tell us about your profession. Where are you? A doctor? Are you a mechanic? Are you a trotro driver? Are you a trotro maid? Are you an Uber driver? I mean, are you a farmer? Any of the professions that you find yourself in, if you're media, man, you can share that with us. And we're talking about only legal professions. And when I say legal professions, it's professions that you would not put you into any trouble. All right. So if you engage in galamsey, if you engage in galamsey, that's not a legal job. All right. That's a legal job. So those of you who engage in galamsey, I do not want to hear your messages this morning. Don't send me any message this morning if you're engaging illegal mining. Please, you're not part of the legal workers that professionals that we're talking about, all right? And I'm trying hard not to mention a certain profession, but it's okay. We'll leave it there like that. Yeah, I don't want to be forced by those behind me this morning to engage in that conversation. But we're talking about legal professions. If you're engaged in any of that, let us know. If you're a minister, you're an MP, you're a district director, whichever profession that you're into, let us know about it. Civil servant, you're a public servant, just let us know and share with us, what makes your profession what it is and your contribution to the nation's development. So you can share all of that with us here on the show. We're dedicating this show today to all workers out there. Incredible work that you've done over the period, and you still continue to do. We're amazed, by the great things that we've been able to achieve as a nation, as an individuals and all that. So, yes, share that with us here on the show, okay? Good stuff. Now, let me try and see what I can find on myjoyonline.com. and then I'll get into our major conversation. This morning we're looking at the NPP thank you tour. It has brought a lot of issues. Some people even believe that it's supposed to be stopped. They're supposed to just cut it short. Others believe that, well, the party have decided that they want to do this for the people and not for themselves. And so if there are internal issues, that should not stop them from saying thank you to the people who, contributed to the 37% that, or 48%, as some also says it is, that they actually got. And so they will continue with the thank you tour. But Kennedy Japan has withdrawn from the thank you tour. He's decided not to continue with it. And he stated his reasons, including security reasons. And that actually comes in the wake of that incident that happened in Kumasi when they were on the thank you tour. And he believes that his security and the security of his men cannot be guaranteed, and so he's decided to cut the tour short. He's also indicated his intentions of becoming a flag bearer, and he's also instigated, he's also indicated that nobody can actually stop him from getting into that position. So, pretty much that's what is ongoing at the NPP's camp. We'll be looking at that conversation this morning here on the show. Let us know what you know about it and what you think about it and what you've heard about it maybe. Now, the Energy Minister yesterday was on Prime Express, an exclusive interview with Evans Mensah, and he has spoken about a lot of issues that pertains to our energy sector. And yesterday, listening to him, there's a lot at the Energy Ministry. If we're not careful, what is going to make of this country, only God knows. But we're hoping that most of these things will be averted. Solutions will be given to some of these things that we are going to be seeing in our energy sector. There's a lot of issues at the energy sector, no doubt about that. In fact, he admitted that if you look at what is happening at the energy sector, and he, from where he sits, it scares him. But then again, he's not here to complain. He's been given the mandate. He's been given that, chance to make it better. And so as much as, there are fears because of what has happened in the past, he still believes that something can be done. And as of yesterday, we were supposed to be raising about $300 million to pay some of the IPPs. And if we're not able to do that, we're going to have a total shutdown. And if that happens, then we're going to be going into darkness. And that darkness would affect a lot of places in this country. And it was possibly one of the major, darkness that we are going to be experiencing if we are not able to solve that situation. But he believes that there's some engagements going on. In fact, he says that tomorrow they are supposed to meet with them and try to negotiate again and see if they'll be able to, understand from government point of view why it is even necessary for them not to shut down that plant so that we can continue to generate power and serve the people of Ghana. So yes, it was an all-exclusive interview with Evans Mensah, and some of the things that he said over there has been put on myjoyonline.com. Let me just run through a few of them. Don't forget that the Attorney General also had a presser yesterday and spoke about a few issues that are yet to be, dealt with in courts, especially with the Dubai situation. Now, from what you can see on myjoyonline.com this morning, I cannot accept that lights go off when it rains. That makes no sense. And if you're known to this situation in Ghana here, when it rains, some way, somehow, lights are supposed to go off. This phenomenon has been there since. I mean, it's not an NPP energy thing. It's an energy problem, and it's been there. Government of government. People even complain that why should lights go off when it's raining? And you be walking around town and you're driving in town and all the street lights are off simply because it's raining. And that's when you even need these street lights even the more. And you can imagine, and I think I agree with the Energy Minister, it does not make any sense for, we to experience that kind of situation, but that's what it is. And so, some of the other things he said, I know it's not easy, but I'm not here to complain. Energy Minister vows to fix power awards, and that also happened in that conversation he had with Evans Mensah yesterday on PM Express. You can go on my Joy Online and read about it. You can also go on Joy News page on social media, and you can see the conversation that happened over there as well. Now, BOG is not injecting significant amount of dollars to support city stability, Dr. Johnson Esiama says. So, but let me be quick to introduce my guest in the studio. I think it's important that he even gets into these conversations that we're having having here on myjournal.com as well. And Osai Kwame Greflex is joining me this morning here. He's the former director for the National Identification Authority. He's here to assume his new position now, which of course I'm sure he'll be telling us very soon. But good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
And happy Workers' Day.
Thank you.
We still have to be working.
Yes.
We're supposed to be resting.
We have to see you.
Unfortunately. Anyway, but I'm grateful that you're able to make it this morning. And we're also hoping that Mr. Stephen Amoah will be joining us. Sticker. We're hoping that he's able to join us. He's the MP for Shaiso constituency, and he's supposed to also join us this morning as well. And well, moving on, BOG is not injecting significant amount of dollars to support city stability. Dr. Johnson Isiama says so. And you remember that the dollar hasn't been that bad in the last 4 months or so. As at last week, thereabout, it was around 16.5 thereabout. Yesterday, 2 days ago, throughout this week, I think it's maintained around 15.4. And so, yeah, I'm sure most people are thinking that the governor is doing something, is doing some machinations somewhere to make it stable, but he believes that, there hasn't been any injection into it, that it's more or less like something good is happening and not something that it's more, has to do with machinations. You know how they do it. I had to say, it looks in the eyes of the people, the city is doing well, but it's not in actual case. Now, AG to file criminal charges in SkyTrain and SS Ghost names scandals next week. And the Attorney General yesterday had a long presser to address most of these issues. Now, Dubois' wife pleaded not guilty to 49 million Ghana cedis corruption charges. And the file has been opened now, so we'll be heading to court very soon. Now, court remands 4 into narcotics custody for alleged cocaine smuggling. And away from that, Apple referred for possible criminal contempt investigation. Example practices threaten national security workforce competitiveness, YXS. So, and when the lights go out, so does public patience. Energy Minister admits fault promises fix. Now, Quantum Mining sues government over alleged defamation, demands 20 million Ghana cedis in damages. And we inherited a crisis. Energy Minister pins load shedding on NPP administration. Of course, you'd expect that to come in somewhere, and it happens when the government changes hands. But in this case, I'm sure that he's also spoken about the fact that it's not really about the complaints, but it's about fixing the situation. Let's get into it. I don't know which of these issues that you want to tackle before we get into our major conversation, but I think that the presser that the AG actually had yesterday has also brought a lot of, findings in terms of what really happened with that scandal. I don't know which of them you want to comment.
I think the energy bit is what I want to start with. And also, what is missing, I was expecting that the media would pounce on the nomination of the Supreme Court.
Oh, the 7 justices that was recommended by the president.
I'm sure if a sticker comes, by all means he would.
That's another problem we're going to be dealing with in the coming weeks. Yeah. And I know, yes, we're going to get there.
But with the energy issue, I think, some of the things were quite revealing. And as a nation, we need to look at it from a non-partisan point of view and see how we can solve this. I mean, one of the issues that he touched on was the fact that you also alluded to is the fact that as soon as there's some semblance of rain, lights goes off. It is also noted that the way our high tension, when you transport electricity, you need to push up the voltage so high so that when it travels, it does not, you don't lose,
because of the distance it's covering.
Yeah, so you push it, you create a huge potential energy, then it runs across the wire. That is the reason why we don't, where production is made, you don't step it down and send, no. You push it up at a high potential. Then you have to create silos of step downs that will now step down the high voltage to consumption level and send it to the... And sometimes when it rains, the wind is such that it creates a problem where some of these wires are blown to touch. And that creates a very huge problem. But it looks as if because of that, you know, ECG feels that as soon as there's any semblance of rain, you know, the light goes off. I think all those things has to be looked at. And the way our grid is structured should also be looked at. How do we ensure that these transportation is safe and can withstand, you know, some of these high winds that are associated with the rains? So I think we need to look at all that, you know, from a very holistic point of view.
But looking at the fears he alluded to in terms of how much we owe, what we can do to avert any possible darkness in the coming days. Now, he said that there are some engagements ongoing, and tomorrow they're supposed to meet the IPPs and speak to them. In fact, some of them have understood government point in terms of the fact that we need time to be able to service some of the monies that we owe. But there's one particular one that, he didn't mention the name, but there's one particular one that is not understanding in terms of payments. And if they have a certain, in terms of the power, you know, they have, if they shut down that plant, we have a massive darkness because of how much contributions they bring to the table. And that is where his fear is. How do we walk away from some of these things? Now, you also remember that he's spoken about the fact that they are about to privatize ECG, not selling it outright, but they are dividing it into 4 sectors. And it means that they are giving those 4 sectors to private individuals to manage so that they pay ECG. However they collect the monies, it was up to them, but they'll be able to actually pay ECGs, you know, whatever money that is own them or stew them, and then but the ECG staff are not happy about that.
Yes. Well, any form of... So I think that first of all, we need to look at the way PPPs are done. More or less, it's a private-public
partnership, Partnership. He mentioned categorically that they are not selling ECG.
Yes. So the partnership is better than an outright sale because you take a private person comes to more or less help a government institution to deploy the mandate of the government institution. But because it's a private sector, they inject more efficiencies and sometimes capital into the, you know, bring in capital and also some efficiencies. That usually helps in the execution of the mandate of the institution. I think a lot of power is being lost to so many things that happen in this country, and therefore we should look at that critically, so that the cost of generation, you know, because when power is lost in such a manner, then the fraction of people who are actually making payments, that fraction of people then tend to shoulder the burden of almost everybody else who is. So it is in order that, you know, private hands would be brought into the, you know, into the fold. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that sometimes, and it has happened too often, that revenue streams that are used to structure some of these PPPs, because when you are structuring the PPP, you look at the revenue streams that come in, and then the private person will make projections as to what they are bringing to the table, and it's usually in a form of projections. Okay, currently you are able to take $1 million in a month. Based on this, my obligation is to send it to maybe 1.2 billion or $1 million. My obligation is to send 1.2 million or maybe 2 million in a month, and it is based on that projection that they are given a percentage to take. But most often, some of these institutions are performing so badly that we always under-project, because then they turn out, because some of the mining sector, I think Akotia Mani also, we gave it out almost for free. When the foreigners came in and all the figures were put together, the place was performing so badly that the projections were so low, and the people And there were no clauses to protect the nation if there is, a bumper harvest, if I may put it that way. So what happened was that they went away with so much money. So I think that all these things, I'm sure the ministry will be guided by all these, this. And, sometimes too, what they do is that some of the private people in the past have been known to exaggerate some of the costs that, for example, do you know that currently, as a government, as a nation, we are paying almost $4 million to a private party for the national identification system.
Okay.
A month. Every single month, $4 million, almost, because of, projections that they have brought into government as to revenue, profits and revenue that they will be bringing in. The contract, I don't know how it was structured in a way that, even though they made those promises and projections, their failure to be able to achieve that becomes solely a government burden. So I think that all these things, we should be careful going into, future arrangements when PPPs are involved. So I think Jinapo is a very smart guy. He would look at all this. Now, touching on the fact that it will be difficult to keep, the power going based on the debt that has been accumulated. I think it is important, and one of the things that this government is doing very well is that when there's an issue, it is made very clear to the people of this country that, look, there's a problem. Unlike the semblance of some doomsaw, when you are asking for a timetable, then, people are coming out with all sorts of cheeky, statements against journalists that go and ask those who are asking for doomsaw to produce their own timetable. So I think that I commend the ministry for putting this information out there for people to be guided that this is where we are. And I also think that every effort should be brought to bear to ensure, because losing energy, a lot of businesses are not able to survive. It's just like running a poultry farm. You can look at it that way. I remember very well in the U.S. campaign when Romney was asked, taxes, some taxes on sort of taxing corporations for their fair share of tax and whatever. He said he made a political blunder by saying corporations are people. But if you look at it from a business point of view, corporations are indeed people. Tax laws refer to them as persons, tax persons. So they are actually people. So if you look at them, businesses in that way, they actually live. So they have a life. It's like running a poultry farm. You cannot say that I don't have money to buy feed for next month, but I'm sure in June I will get some revenue. That 1 month that you don't feed them, they will die. So I think energy is one of the food you give to your poultry farm. Is one of the ingredients that would ensure that businesses are on their feet. And I think that government is going to do everything they can to make sure that these corporations survive, these power outages. Because some businesses cannot afford to meet prior commitments and obligations when they are unable to operate for a certain number of hours within a week. And those businesses are forced to fold. And so I commend first for President Mahama for fixing the doomsaw problem, to the extent that now it has not become a generation problem. Don't forget that hitherto it was a generation problem. You could have all the money you want, you need it, but you still can't buy power enough for the nation. Now our problem has changed to making sure that we are responsible enough to pay for the power that we generate. So there's a shift. And therefore, I commend President Mahama for making that move to fix that problem. And it is also, my hope that all the needed brains and efforts will be brought to bear to ensure that because there's a saying in Akan that say okonfobonesi ekroma otimudi bi. If for some reason these company that is providing us power, I believe would come around the table and then understand that any hit to the economy will further make the government increase the government's burden of meeting the payments that is supposed to. And this is a very young government. And, for so far, has shown to the people of this country that it is ready to take, to grab, its responsibilities and liabilities that it has inherited and then service them accordingly. So, I mean, time should be, just time that is needed to ensure that we can meet these obligations.
Unfortunately, it's what you don't have luxury for in terms of how many years you can do this, but we'll get there. Maybe in earnest, we'll be able to find solutions to most of these things. But for the purposes of our viewers, let's take a look at the interview with the Honorable Minister, John Amoah, on some of the things he spoke about, including taking full responsibility for the current situation, in our load shedding situation here in Ghana. Take a look at this.
Difficult is going to take very difficult decisions, and we've started implementing some decisions. The only thing about the energy sector is that it has a long gestation period. For instance, we've realized that a lot of the lines are bad. A lot of the transformers are obsolete. Now, if you want to change transformers, it takes time. Secondly, because of the current energy architecture, if I want to change your transformer, your lights have to go off before I change it. And so, naturally, people will even get angry when the lights go off. But I'm meeting ECG today at 1:30, and as we leave here, you'll see them waiting for me. We're having a very, very crucial meeting. And yesterday, I put it on our platform. One, I do not see why the lights always go off when it rains. It makes no sense to me. The ECG MD and his team tried to explain, but I said, you must stretch yourself beyond what you are doing now. We must get to a level where when it rains, the lights will stay on. I cannot accept that when it rains, 21 feeders go off. We must find a solution.
Is that the reality now? 21 feeders?
Yes, yesterday when it rained, about 21 feeders went off. And I asked, and they said the equipment and the machinery are so obsolete. That is what we've inherited. Our duty now is to ensure that we upgrade it and make it more robust, more resilient, so that it can serve the people. But the other thing too is the human factor. Yes, this is what you've inherited. You have some plans over the period. But immediately when the lights go, what is the response time? Immediately it goes off, people must move in. Sometimes you hear complaint about people saying that we've been off for 1 day, 2 days, nobody has come. That is unacceptable. It will stop. We are putting in place all the necessary mechanism to ensure that the response time is very quick. And also communication. I went to a shop to buy something about 2 months ago, and the woman said the light has been off since 11 in the morning. And then when he called the control center said they were sending technical people. Then I called the MD, and the MD said, they've issued an announcement that they were going to do some routine work. So they would have finished by 5 p.m., which is good. But how come that they'll be finishing at 5 p.m., but the lady sitting at the control center or response center did not know.
But that lady would have told
her, please don't worry. We are doing something good. It will help you. Bear with us. By 5 p.m., you'll be back. But when you tell the customer that the men are coming to fix it, and they are not coming, it creates a problem. So those are the things we want to realign. We are dealing with the short-term measures, the medium-term measures, and then some long-term measures to stabilize the grid.
Is the issue?
Say if the roads are bad, people are unhappy. If water does not flow, people are unhappy. But in the night when the lights go out, people get very upset and angry. That's what I've seen. And so, naturally, people want to see the lights on, which is expected. And so that is one of the major problems. And it's something we inherited as well. In fact, as far back as December, when were about going into the election. And that was the last month of the NPP administration. They were shedding about 500 megawatts of power. And if you look at the whole of 2024, virtually every month, not virtually, every month, there was load shedding. To the extent that, it got so heated that the minister came under fire. And so I'm aware of that. And so these few days, because of the rains and other things, as the system gets a bit unstable, you also come under heat. And as minister, even when ECG commits a mistake, nobody knows the ECG MD. When the PURC commits some mistake or they do something, nobody even knows who the executive secretary of the PURC is. The same with Energy Commission, the same with Gridco, VRA, all these are value chain. What they know is that there's a minister appointed by the president to superintend over the sector. And so legitimately so, the people of Ghana would always hold the minister responsible. And I take full responsibility for that.
And by extension, the president.
Yes,
and who hold you accountable if something happens.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Many have said in the past, your predecessors have said that as energy minister, you live or die by how successful you are in managing the power sector. And when they say power sector, they actually mean ECG and power to my home. Have you found that to be true?
That is very true. That is very true because Ghana's power sector has been quite checkered. And it's been very difficult. I've been deputy minister before. I've virtually acted before in this sector, and now I'm substantive minister. And so I understand the enormity of the challenge. I understand the gravamen of the situation. And I tell you, it is not easy. But there's one thing that I know. President Mahama chose me as minister because he thinks and he believes I can do this work. And so I am determined to do whatever it takes as minister to improve the sector and ensure that by the time I leave office, this sector will have been much, much better than I inherited.
All right, so that was to give us a better understanding of what happened in that interview. We've shared our thoughts on that this morning. I don't know what you make of it. You can also share your thought with us. Our WhatsApp line is active. You can go on Facebook. We're streaming live on Facebook, so you can also drop your messages over there in real time, and I'm going to be reading them. It's the holiday edition of News Flash. It's proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise, still folks, Papa Pafi. I'm here in studio with Mr. Kwame Griffiths, and he's been also sharing his thoughts on the issues with our power sector. And, well, we're hoping and praying that it gets way better than it is right now. Maybe we can move on to talk about a few other issues. We'll still go on the NPP. Thank you, Tor. But you mentioned earlier about the 7 justices that the president has recommended. And already I've seen social media people make comments about why the president is beginning to pack the Supreme Court with his people and all of that. Is that what we're seeing?
No, no,
necessary at this point?
I don't think so. If you look at their constitution, if you look at 112, it does not put a cap on the number of justices you can appoint to the Supreme Court. It says a minimum of 10. And what that means is that, you can have more than 10. And this is not the first time presidents have appointed, But by the way, he has nominated for appointment. Yeah. Because he does that on the advice of the Judiciary Council. And in better word, you maybe want to say recommended. Yes, recommended. That's what the worst word you use. So, and in consultation with the Council of State. So there has been no, he hasn't offended any law in this country. And I believe the framers of the Constitution knew, as we grow as a democracy, the challenges of the time may require that we have more justices on the bench to be able to deal with issues that come. I mean, there are so many instances where you would testify that a case can go to court and sometimes about 10 years it's still there. Yeah. Obviously. But one of the challenges that we have with our our judicial system. Yeah. Yes. Because sometimes, they get overwhelmed by the things that they have to do. And when you look at how things are done, they need to really understand, even if you are in your own house, an issue comes about, and you need to pass judgment, among your own children, you need to make sure you understand it very well, if you want to do, the right thing, before you can pass the right judgments that you think would solve the problem. So I think that it is within the law, and he's acted within the law, and from what has gone on in the country with how long it takes sometimes for cases to be heard. I look at the case of Domelewu. By the time the Supreme Court came about to actually pass judgment in his favor, he was already out. When in actual fact, had there been enough time for them to really look at the issue, expeditiously, maybe we could have prevented him, being booted out the way he was. So I think that it is laudable, and I commend him for making that bold move.
Okay. Now, a private legal practitioner, Martin Pegbo, also added his voice to his. I don't know in his own words. Maybe you can look at that also. He says the debate on this list is very robust, and that tells you that Ghanaians are awake and involved now. What that has to do with the Supreme Court nominations that came out. That's what he says about it. He says that Ghanaians are awake now because of the kind of conversation that has come around the list. Is that what we're seeing now? I've seen people write on social media. Some say, "Oh, Mr. President, you can nominate even 20. You can do this. You can do that." People seem to be very interested in what happens with regards to the judicial service.
I think prior to the election, in a past administration, certain things that occurred, gave us all, room to be concerned. The attempt to, the allegations that came out of people who were all perceived to be of certain political coloration, who were acting in a way that was perceived to be in the interest of a particular political party, give, concern. For example, I just gave you an example of Domelewu's case, where by the time they came around, the thing had even don't forget, even E-Levy, that, very funny enough, both political parties today now accept that E-Levy was wrong. When we were saying that E-Levy was not very helpful, I mean, we came under all sorts of attacks, as if we were trying to stand in the way of the government to raise revenue, because we feel that him doing well is not good for our political, what we want to do politically in this country. But now, at least, we've all come around. But don't forget that the E-Levy issue was taken to the Supreme Court by Dofemepo. And that case was never heard until, so many months had passed. And by the time they came around to that case, it had made, rendered the whole case useless. The injunctions that were supposed to be put on were all not allowed. So, but in the same light, the same Supreme Court found it necessary when there was an issue of who is a majority, who is a minority. Afenyomakin took a case to the Supreme Court on a Friday. The same day, the Chief Justice empaneled judges. The judges were empaneled that morning. They sat on the case the same morning, and judgment was passed and issued on the same day. So, but there are certain critical. I'll give you another example. Look at the going into the voter registration exercise. When Electoral Commission came up with the suggestion that they were going to use only their offices for registration, we said that that is not going to enfranchise, but disenfranchise people. Now, why did we say that? A lot of the districts, especially going to the north, are so far apart. They occupy such a wide space that to travel from one end to the district capital would be come at a huge cost in terms of money and time. I gave an example. I remember I wrote an article on this matter where I gave an example of somebody going from Bamboy to Bali have to pay transportation of, now it's even 60 cedis. Those days it was 50 cedis. So 50 or 40 cedis, I don't remember. But that farmer in Bamboy has to go to the EC office in Bali. And that means that if he goes there to register, in and out alone is 80 cedis. Don't you think that there are a lot of these farmers and laborers and what have you who are living in Bamboy who, for that reason, will not go to register to vote? Now, the Constitution says that there are 3 conditions with which you can register and vote and take part in a public referendum. 1, you have to be a citizen of this country. You need to be of sound mind and 18 years. In this, by saying that somebody has to travel to your office, you have introduced an element of cost into the fray. So what that means is that the person who does not even have 20 cedis to take trotro from wherever in Medina to the EC office, or even from Aguna to Yamuasi to Aguna in Efija Secretary East Constituency, that person cannot go and vote. And I found it very strange that the New Patriotic Party didn't say anything about this and rather criticized the article I wrote. Because somewhere in 2010, when we said that we were going to have an expedited fee for Ghana card, they misconstrued that to mean we were going to sell the Ghana cards for 5 cedis. And they came up with a statement saying that we are introducing a 4th condition to the requirement for registration to vote, because the NIA card was going to be used for registration to vote, and that somebody who does not have 5 cedis now cannot vote. But the same political party was very quiet when the EC structured its registration system in such a way that some were going to pay in excess of 100 cedis to be able to go and to register. So you see, the Supreme Court, I thought, would have seen this as an important national issue, but under the Chief Justice, the Supreme Court didn't even hear the case until the registration was over. So you see, this here brought into the national discourse some perceived biasness from the Supreme Court, you understand? So I think that that is why today people who are nominated are going to be looked at in that vein. And from the little I have heard of the nominees, it looks like we are in for people who will put the law, above every other thing, and that is important. It is not in the interest of the NDC to nominate people who would come and do things in the interest of our political, objectives in this country. It is important that institutions that are supposed to be neutral, stay neutral for the security of our nation, so that nobody will feel that the only way to probably change power or what have you, or have justice in this country, is to do A, B, C.
And these are the people that you find that neutrality in them. So he has the Justice Dennis Dominic J. He also has Justice Gil Simon Subare. He has Justice Senyo Jamefe also over there. Justice Kwakutewia Buafo. Justice for the Bridesmaids. Justice Jana Pare Battels Kojo, and Justice Hafiz Sata Amala Boba also over there as well. Now, private legal practitioner, and of course, he's also chair of the Legal and Constitutional Committee for the NPP. Frank Davis has added his voice to it, and in his own words, he says that I'm at pains to say this, but the optics are for Ghanaians to judge. 19 Supreme Court judges at this time is quite a number.
I just told you cases that went over there.
But he still thinks that that's a lot of number if you're looking at the time frame that we're then in office. You're getting into 90 justices for
well, here's the deal. If there's a case that has to be dealt with expeditiously, perhaps within 48 hours or 72 hours, and the Supreme Court has to wait until, I just gave you examples. It has to wait for several weeks before those cases are heard. Then we cannot say that they are not understaffed. Perhaps they have a lot of work to do. You understand?
So is it a case of the NPP not appreciating the fact that there are spaces that have to be filled? There are gaps that have to be, filled with judges?
Well, some of these things have always generated, not just in Ghana, throughout the world, generated, it has attracted this political commentary from the opposite side. Unfortunately, or fortunately, for example, if I may use the United States, you remember that during Obama's time, when there is an opening in the Supreme Court, the Republicans said that he couldn't fill because he was almost out of power. And therefore, they should allow the American people to have a voice by deciding who would become president after him, so that that person would then make the nomination. In the same light, when Trump was almost leaving office, had less than half Obama had to leave office, the same Republican led by the same leader in the Senate rushed through, Amy, the Supreme Court, the last one that Trump, the Catholic woman who Trump nominated for the Supreme Court. So it will always generate these political discourse. So I don't expect the MPP to sit and not pass political commentary. And it is healthy for our democracy. I mean, it will be good for them to come up with any issues they find against some of these nominations. And if they are coming off of the fact that if they can't find anything, like in some cases in the past, where some had publicly passed commentary to suggest a certain political ideology, in this case, if they can't really find anything against them,
but they seem to find something against the number.
Yes.
Martin Kebu has also spoken about the number. He believes that if we're even going beyond 15, then we need to have a national dialogue on this. We need to have a national conversation on this. And it's known words, he says that if we want to go beyond 15 judges, I've always believed in having a national conversation first. Let's sit around the table and we can change the convention. But in this case, it's not happened that way.
Which one is the convention?
You're going beyond 15.
Don't forget
and he stated that in his comment.
The Supreme Court justices were way less than 10. It was a very small number. When Chachu Chikate's case went in a certain direction, Kufuor nominated more. So perhaps they feel that it is in that same light that President Mahama is doing that. That's not what he's doing. We are looking at certain cases that have delayed.
So this is more filling the gap.
Yes. So therefore,
we need to expedite some.
Exactly. And I'm just telling you a very important national exercise. That was delayed when there was a court case that was seeking to injunct the registration exercise so that it can be done properly in a way so that people who are within, at least it is sent to the electoral area, and these are cases, they were credible data that suggests that all the limited registration that was done by Dr. Afrejan was done at the electoral area level, where people have to walk to the point of registration to go and register. All the limited registration that was done by Madam Charlotte Osei was done at the electoral area level. It is only under Jade Mensah, Bosman Asari, and what have you, that they decided that the whole district would have only one registration center. And we came up with issues that would bring, apart from the transportation, the best way to educate people as to where they will vote is to tell them to go to where they registered. Because when they go to the district center, they are only trying to tell the registration officer, describe where they live, so that it will be captured. And by so doing, or they go with their Ghana Post GPS, and you know that we don't read those things to know what the direction is. If I have a fingerprint of President Mahama here and President Akufo-Addo here, and I ask you to pick which one is, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
A system has to do that, which is not really with a lot of people to, you know. So this is such a credible case against the way the EC was registering that would disenfranchise. This case had to wait until the nominations, the registration was over before they came, by which time the quest to injunct the process and and to restructure it in a way that will actually benefit this country, had made no sense anymore because the exercise had already been done. So
it's become necessary that we
yes, exactly. So if there are more of them, perhaps we wouldn't have had such. If there were more of them, perhaps Domilevo wouldn't have to wait until he is booted out, and then he is told that, you know what, you were actually booted out wrongly, so go and take your compensation. When in actual fact, at that time, he was really doing a great service to this nation by exposing a lot of errors that were going on, and that was what was perceived as the reason why he was being booted out. But the Supreme Court only came around after he had sat home for several months to a year or probably beyond, before they came around with judgments to say that he shouldn't have gone in the first place. So, I mean, the results of what is coming out of the Supreme Court is what will detect whether they are enough or they still need more hands to help.
Okay. If you just join us here on the show, this is News Flash. It's proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise here on Prime Morning. And we're having conversations on issues that have come up as this week as we celebrate Workers' Day. If you're joining us here on the show, you can also share your thought with us. Contributions, you can send them to our WhatsApp line. I'll be reading some of your messages you've sent to us in a couple of minutes. And also on Facebook, we're streaming live over there, so you can also drop your messages over there. I'll read some of them. We've taken a look at the Supreme Court, the recommendation of 7 justices by the president, and also we've taken a look at the issue of this energy sector, a very big space that so much happens over there. The energy minister, John Amoah, has promised that as much as there are so many issues to be dealt with in that sector, he takes full responsibility for some of the things that have happened in terms of load shedding, and also has no complaints, but to fight and ensure that the right things are done to give the country the power that we deserve. And so those are some of the conversations that we've had so far. We'll also be looking at the NPP and thank you tour, which is generated into something else. With Canada Japan withdrawing from the thank you tour, he cited examples of security and for himself and the team as reasons why he wants to actually stop that thank you tour. Don't forget, Nana Akufo-Addo has spoken about it, and he has said that he thinks it's in the right direction because the thank you tour is actually becoming unnecessarily competitive, and so it's important that he take that decision. And we're going to be looking at it. We're supposed to have Stephen Amoah. So if you're watching and you are hearing only the only side of the NDC, please, it's not intentional. We're supposed to have had Stephen Amoah, Honorable Stephen Amoah, joining us this morning as well. He's the MP for Ishiasu constituency and represents NPP. But he's not been able to make it as at this time. Hopefully when he's able to join us before we close, we'll put him on as well. But as it stands right now, he's the one who was supposed to have joined us, but he's not here yet, and that's the reason why you've heard only from the NDC on the issues that we've spoken about so far. I don't know, but if you listen to the Attorney General yesterday, I don't know if you listened to him, but mainly the issue has been with the fact that certain, files have been opened for the Dubois case. It was what we were waiting for. A lot of people waited for the Attorney General to be able to proceed on this case, and they said that he delayed because there was another 1.3 million issue that came up, and they needed to be sure that is also probably put together before we open that. Now he's been charged with 11 counts, including stealing, defrauding, money laundering, and all of that, with the wife also involved as well. What do you make of this?
Well, I think that, first of all, I didn't listen to him yesterday. I didn't have the opportunity. I had an issue I had to deal with. So I was running around doing that. However, I have read a lot about the case in the past, and I think that it is not just as a matter of importance to this case to be expedited, and also, public to be made aware of whatever is happening along the way. It's important that we try to retrieve part of the money, the value of whatever had gone out. And the last time I recall, I don't know what new material he added yesterday.
Okay, so there's 1.3 million Ghana cedis, Ghana Water new case that has been added to it, and it was a monthly monies that was supposed to have been sent to a private-owned business, but it was diverted into his own account, and that's around 1.3 million.
I think it's a shame that as a nation, we still have people who would engage in these acts, just looting from the state. And I think it's a shame. It should be in the interest of, or the advocacy to ensure that these people are dealt with should be coming from whichever political party exists in this country, because it's all our money that is being, mismanaged in such a manner. So I commend the Attorney General for doing what he is doing, and most importantly, making the public aware, of every step of the way, so that, people are informed. And by so doing, it generates the necessary conversations that we are having, and I wish Stephen was here so that we would hear from their point of view what they think about some of these blatant looting that has been going on. And it should also tell, my own people within the NDC that, the level with which Ghanaians gave us their mandate is not just winning. We won at a certain, percentage that is unprecedented in this country. And it tells you how people are disgusted at mismanagement and corruption in this country. And they still hold the power. And they are also watching. And so far, I believe that the moves that are made by President Mahama to ensure that within record time, certain assets are declared and what have you, and has sent a strong warning that, his government is not for people who can even engage in businesses outside their institutions of mandate. So I think that it is important that we also take a clue from what is going on and act in a way that would only inure to, the national interest, and not, be picking whatever buck is on the way that is not supposed to be done.
All right, so that's on the issue of Attorney General yesterday speaking on the scandals that, a lot of people were expecting to get some updates on. Yesterday, he spoke about the fact that there are some fresh new cases that have come up with respect to the Dubois issue. And so that's what we spoke about. Now, I'm going to do a few messages and then we'll come back again. We've been joined by Honorable Stephen Amoah. Steka has joined us this morning here on the show. so, and he's the MP for Nshiaso constituency. He's representing the NPP. And so I'm going to take his initial remarks, and then we'll do a few messages, and then we'll get into other conversations. Don't forget, we're looking at the NPP thank you tour. Canadian Japan Honorable has withdrawn from the tour, and he cited issues of security for himself and the team as a reason why he does not want to continue with the tour again. Honorable, good morning. I hope you're good.
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm grateful for the time, your time this morning.
It's a pleasure having you.
Correct. All right. So we've spoken about a lot of things. I don't know if you're listening and any of them that you want to respond to before we move to the thank you tour. But we've spoken about the energy sector. The energy minister yesterday had an exclusive interview with Joy News, and he spoke about the crisis that we're facing in terms of our energy sector. And some of the things that he does not even understand has to do with the fact that even if it rains, we don't have light. The light goes off. And some other monies that we're supposed to pay to the IPPs that if we're not able to pay, about over 300 million or so, if we're not able to pay, we may have a total darkness. And I mean that the extent to which the darkness that we're going to be, suffering will be very huge. But he's doing everything possible to avert that. In fact, he has meetings with them tomorrow. And if that happens, they'll be able to negotiate, even though it's becoming increasingly difficult for them to understand why they have to go on with us in terms of the payment plan. I don't know what you make of that.
Thank you very much. My regards to our listeners and viewers this very much. Sometimes some of these issues, I really don't know where to start from. And some of us have challenges because even when you want to be even apolitical.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're forced to.
No, people do not even take your sincere opinion, or even if it comes to financing the economy, your expertise or expert analysis or technical analysis, because they look at you with different lenses. Honestly speaking, this issue about energy, I think there are so many areas or issues or elements within our economic structure or socio-economic structure that the earlier we detached politics from, the better. Because if you want to really go by, we have huge debt to pay IPPs. Any honest Tom, Dick, and Harry in our country, will tell you that. NPP also came. There was also debt. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's not basically because maybe NDC or MPP or whatever. There are a lot of wrong fundamentals that as a country, if we keep on behaving the way MPP behaves, NDC behaves, commentators will speak, but they have underlying interest. And we don't see these as challenges as a result of weak fundamentals. And that sometimes you need to see them as intersection or common interest. And that, we've done enough politics or politicization of these things. What is the way forward? Brother, once the light goes off today, the so-called ordinary Ghanaian, which I normally disagree in the use of ordinary Ghanaian. I disagree. But when somebody wants local capital, he uses that. We'll think that, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is in power. NDC is in power. You promise better Ghana. It's not working. But me, where I've gotten to in life, by the grace of God, I think all these comments, in my opinion, should cease. They use it against us, yes. Look, most of the things they use against His Excellency Lee Rollins, the same things they use against former President Kufuor. The same thing they use against first His Excellency Mahama. And now Nanato. And the same thing. So I think, for once, as a country, for once, let's be honest with ourselves and with the God we always say we all serve, and the interest we have for this nation, and know that what are the problems? Are we analyzing the entire value chain of our energy sector? For years, we've been having power outages. I mean, even before Kufuor came, before Rollins came, these issues were there. That pushed Kufuor getting into, this TA1 or Tema, something one, Asogli and Oku, all of them. That pushed present president when he was there to go and deal with this power car, whatever. I'm no energy expert. So these problems, exactly. But when NDC guys are in power, in opposition, they will use it against NPP because they want Ghanaians to give them their goodwill for them to win. When NPP guys are in opposition, they will use, there are a lot of them. So what I'm saying is that, do we continue this trajectory? Do we continue this on this path and stay perpetually unstable, deteriorating, not being competitive, and Ghanaians will continue to suffer? Is that what we have to do? I think most of you, especially you here, should begin to redefine a new platform for some of these things to be discussed. I don't know if you understand.
No, I do, but Honorable, again, these are two giant political parties. If we want to put politics aside, are we not going to say that all these two political parties have greatly disappointed Ghanaians if we've not been able to solve this issue of power?
I don't think you are getting the angle.
No, I get what you're saying, but I'm looking at it on...
We always do politics, but what I'm saying...
And I want us to take the politics out.
Let me give you...
Let's take it out.
Let me give you...
But these are two great political parties.
Let me give you this scenario.
With great leaders.
And I'm saying, let me give you this scenario. Maybe it's so elementary that you get my point. What you're saying is important, and I share the same view. But I went to the market in Kumasi. In fact, especially at Tasamaso market in my constituency, to go and buy something and come and cook. I wanted to do plantain and tomatoes and those things. Normally, when I'm free, I go and buy myself tomato. Maybe if women, today when you leave, you go and check. Like this, one is 5 Ghana cedis.
That's ridiculous.
Suddenly, me won't be that.
Yeah.
But honestly, in my heart, if it's not politics, you can't blame President Mahama or Nanado NPP.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, as a country for about 30 years, we've not been able to manage our
agric space
very well, to the extent that even storage systems and other things that we have to put in place, the behaviors of the farmers themselves, land litigation and other things, attitude, mindset, all these are problems. So if every day NDC would have said, oh, you came just, look, tomato was 10 will be what, and we all know that when there's scarcity, food prices go down drastically.
Especially with
when there's bumper harvest. But when there's scarcity, whether NDC or MPP in the opposition, we use it against the one. This is the picture I'm bringing. Forget about Ghanaians. Look, already Ghanaians have been chastising politicians. Now they don't have any hope in us. But in even the midst of situation of what is happening, we can still redefine and reintroduce new paradigm shifts, the way we behave as politicians. And then one day, Ghanaians will begin to see a new crop of NDC, MPP activists or leaders that they can have hope in us. But if we look, I would have said that, hey, I mean, if those days, everybody knows, oh, how? You are in power. You say you're coming to do it. And now we are having challenge. You say somebody left. You also left this. No, you are incompetent. You can't manage it. You lie to Ghanaians. This is what people would have done. Oh, you see, tomatoes was not as true to food prices were high when MPP came. MPP was leaving, but it wasn't as high as today. But you can't blame NDC for that. I'll blame MPP. There are fundamental challenges. This is my angle. I don't know how people will change it. Even on this platform, it doesn't matter how my brother here will speak or I will speak. The educative aspect is not what Ghanaians will see, because onliner will change the story. Editor will change the story. TikToker will pick anything.
So we'll become our own enemies.
Exactly. So I think, in my opinion, they can listen to me or not. Let us do genuine and, I would say, is it effective analysis that will really impact our society and help us build sustainable environment so that as a country, we can be truly independent. If we keep on sticking to, because if I'm here, if my brother speaks and he goes the way I think he's chastising my government, definitely I'll come back. Then I'll start doing comparisons. Then we'll not have the solution. Then you, to your questions, may either suit me or him. Now, even call professors in this country, and they know that these issues are this. They will speak based on the parties they want. Professors in this country, if they like NPP, the same topic, 2 professors, very simple, very elementary, see their comment. So I think, as a country, if we really love to change this country and dwindle the individual and the group interests and lift the way our society is, my brother, let's be honest with ourselves. sometimes I'm beginning to believe that a lot of people in Ghana here, especially we the politicians, it's not because of Ghana we are in politics. That is what I'm beginning to believe. A lot. And that's what I'm saying, because you have a small fraction probably that might genuinely. Because there is genuine failure or mismanagement that, how do I put it, like indeliberate. You're a human being, you can fail. And there can be, I wanted to come here 6 o'clock. When the lady called me to come, I was still learning for something. So I slept only 1 hour. And I ironed my own stuff and other things. So something happened and I couldn't come the way I'm supposed to come. I could also be so lazy and do any nonsense, and come here very late. I'm saying that we should be deliberate about our intention to build this country. Our narrative is not every day that we want to deceive Ghanaians and say, make all sorts of comments. And even when the Constitution says A, they will go and say B. When the Constitution says D, they will go and say A. Even lawyers who are great people, lawyers who teach or lecture us on constitutionalism or constitution and other things. Even when they are in power or in opposition, if the constitutional provision says A and they know it is so explicit, they will still want to change the stories. Papa, we can solve our problems if honestly, Ghana is first in our heart. That's what I can say.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's
Let me
my
pick
comment
some
anyway.
Great. Let me pick a few comments from our viewers as well, and then we'll get back into the other conversations that we have here on the show. This one over here, let me see what we can have over here. This one says, good morning, everyone. Mahama and the NDC promised to pack the Supreme Court with the NDC colors, and they are doing that, but I think 7 is too small. 50 will be good for them. Christian from Sandima sent in that. Let me move to this one. It says, good morning, my brother. GBA president must be sacked. Good morning, my brother. We Ghanaians don't need party CJ. We need neutral CJ. Okay, let me go to this one over here. Master Planner says that President Mahama is destroying our judiciary system. The Supreme Court is not a football team, and they are filling it with more players. Regardless, if you still send cases without evidence to prove like you did in 2020 elections petition, you will still lose. Ghana, the judicial coup d'etat has begun, and it's dangerous for our democracy. It's a big shame for Ghana. Ghana is in a sober and mourning state. So sad for our democracy. Master Planner Junior in Kintampo sent in that one. So it has to do with the new recommendation that the president has made with regards to the justices. Now, the removal of the Chief Justice is not a concern. Given the NDC-led Mahama administration's declared statement during their campaign tour that she would be removed by hook or crook. However, the present question is why 3 trillion cement is currently has been allocated for sanitary pads alone. Are they aware that the price of a bag of cement is currently 150 Ghana cedis? Do they plan to increase electricity tariffs by 14.4%? What steps are they taking to prevent their supporters from engaging in galamsey? They promised to increase the cocoa price to 6,500 Ghana cedis. What happened to this promise? They assured us that power outages would be a thing of the past. Instead, the situation has deteriorated, and under this administration, cocaine and red become widespread. Is this your interpretation of reset in the country? Mahama, stop galamsey now. So that's the hashtag over there. Akosi Gariba from Tamale says, good morning, KMJ. Ghanaians should rise against the NDC politicization of everything in Ghana. President Mahama is now packing the courts with the NDC lawyers as he promised when he was in opposition. The NDC and President Mahama should be told in the face of that Ghana doesn't belong to them, and they can't just get up and do anything that they want in Ghana. The country is ruled by laws and not by men. If you go to court empty, you would come out empty. My regards to Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. Okay, let me go to Gasti. And Gasti says, he's in Brekum, he says, there's absolutely nothing to celebrate with this meager 10% increase salary on Labor Day today. Our pay cannot buy anything with recent inflation and upcoming utility bills. With the NPP thank you tour, the earlier report by Kwesi Kwarteng about the stabbing incident was misleading and full of misinformation. Leadership must put him to order before he brings in more division. Okay. Let me go to this one. And now, application says, good morning, KMJ. Instead of the president providing leadership in fighting Galamsey, solving Dumso, and solving Boko crisis, he's busy removing Chief Justice and packing the Supreme Court and DC judges. Anyway, special greetings to Abanga Yakubu Fuseni, aka MPP, Abanga OBI, BDD, Peche, that's MPP National Youth Organizer, hopeful. Okay, let me go to this one. And it says, good morning, KMJ. I'm surprised about ECG because they told us that because post meters, they don't have enough money to generate enough light. Now we use prepaid meters. Still, the problem is wasting. So, Minister, please again, put your feet on the ground. A word to a wise is enough. My regards to my sister, Senator Rawlings from Rawlings Boy, Cape Coast. I'll probably do the last one. I'll come back again, by the way. This one says, good morning, KMJ. This is Abdul Ganyu Makarigu, Savannah region. Recently, the Minister of Energy informed Ghana that we have enough power to the extent that we even export it to neighboring countries. However, just the day before yesterday, I came across a video of you explaining to the press that we produce power on demand. You mentioned that there is currently a shortfall in power generation leading to a technical challenge with the power situation in the country, which your team is working to resolve. It seems you are not fully aware of the issues at your ministry, especially considering how much the economy relies on a stable power supply. Enough with the campaign talk. It's time to address these power issues seriously. Okay. I'll come back and do more of the messages that you've sent. But let's move on to.
People are so much concerned about this DJ thing.
Yeah.
I will speak on it.
You speak on it. Okay. All right. Now let's quickly try and touch on the thank you tour. Was that Kwame?
Yes.
I'm not too sure whether to ask you if you're I'm just being a bit mischievous this morning on that, but is the NDC excited about what is happening with the thank you tour?
No, we can't be excited.
Because, and I'm asking is because the NDC believe that the NPP is a bit chaotic sometimes when it comes to some of these things. In fact, campaign times we've had people say, oh, they're internally they have issues, they're chaotic and all that. So maybe it's what we're seeing now is, revealing some of the things that you used in your campaign.
Well, we don't want a chaotic MPP. We believe that in a democracy, it is important to have a well-composed opposition to put us on our toes.
Is that what you're saying now?
Well, it's unfortunate. What happened yesterday, was it yesterday or
2 days back?
2 days back. Yeah. is unfortunate. And I think that, there are certain issues that the MPP themselves would need to look at, First of all, let me say that, let me wish the student that is involved in this speedy recovery, I wish him well, and it doesn't have to come to this point where he goes out to support whatever candidate or political his political party, and it should come to this. But having said that, I also had the opportunity of listening to a few people on this matter. The MPP is a different party from mine. But I listened to the former chief of staff. I listened to a few people. So a few things that I would say is that it's not new for a candidate that has gone through an election to go on a thank you tour. It happens. And it doesn't have to go on a thank you tour only because he has won. And not just to thank the people who voted for him, but people put in a lot of man hours doing various things, from polling station level all the way to national level. So you owe them some demonstration of gratitude by going back the same way that you came to ask for their time, sometimes money, and what have you to help you in the campaign. However, and I also want to remind my own uncle, Mr. Kojompianim, that in 1997, President Kufuor went on a thank you tour. Not because he won against President Rawlings. In fact, he came to Jamasi, I was present. That time, I was in charge of a by-election. We had a by-election at Judiciary East constituency. The capital was in Agona. And Jamasi is a stone tree. So all those towns there, there's so many intermarriages. So the former chief of staff, you know, is married to an aunt of mine. Yes. No. Not. I'm talking about Mr. Kojompianim.
Oh, okay.
And who is from one of the 7 towns that make up would call the Aguna Mantonsum. Aguna is where I am from. So he's more or less like my in-law, who I have also known very well. For some reason, we have met on Ghana Airways twice, coming from London. And you know, we on both cases, we didn't sit too far from each other. So we had the opportunity to have a drink and have a conversation. At the same time, let me also state that President Akufo-Addo lost 2 elections before he was elected. In both cases, he went on a thank you tour. I think the difference this time is that I think it's the party that is organizing the thank you tour. When it has hitherto been the candidates' campaign team that has organized the thank you tour. And so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is that former Vice President Dr. Bawumia, you know, extended an invitation to his brother, what's the name? His former, you know, former competitor was
Honorable Kennedy
to join. In the,
was that the case? Are you saying as a matter of fact, or you are just presuming?
Oh, unless Kennedy
in terms of what, the joining?
Yes. Kennedy said that.
Yes, he said that.
Oh.
He said that.
I don't know.
He was invited to come.
But it was the entire party that was going.
Vice President. He said he called him to join him.
Oh, okay.
Beyond being a part as a party member, he had a special invitation from
the
Dr. Bawumia.
Dr. Bawumia. That's what
Ken said.
The Honorable, is that what you know?
I don't know.
Ken said.
I can't say that's true or not.
Okay.
In fact,
but knowing Dr. Bawumia, he can do that.
Okay.
So he said he invited him to join them.
Okay.
And so in that light, he joined them. And he actually commended Dr. Bawumia for doing that. But at the same time, within the same speech, he said he had withdrawn from the thank you tour. And not only that, more or less, there was also a declaration of his intention to contest.
Even stated that nobody can stop him.
Yes, to contest the next primaries as a presidential candidate for the party. And he also indicated that when they went from Bono to Ashanti region, some students came who were his supporters. And when these supporters came, a friend of his gave 1,000 cedis to the students, which was snatched by the security, you know, that had been put together. Not security as in national security. I mean the nation's security. You know, the parties have their own these well-built men that they call security that they bring into events. And it created some confusion among the students and the security. And instead of returning the money, he gave them only 200. That's what created the whole problem. And in that process, the there was a stabbing. I think that it is not in an interest of this nation that these events should occur at all. That you go to support your political party and these issues happen. And it shouldn't be seen as an NPP problem. And I really wish, and advise the NPP that the person who was involved in this act, who went to the extent of perhaps even having a knife, at such a gathering of family members, should really be dealt with. The person who is unwell now deserves, some level of justice, not only for him, but also to ensure that this does not happen. And it should also, and I believe it has come to the fore, a national discourse on how some of these perceived macho and what have you are dealt with in our politicking in this country. I remember very well, and not to be political, when we talked about vigilantes in the past, we had a situation where one group officialized their vigilantes into national security and then enacted a law to ban vigilantes. That's not the kind of solution we need at this point. I think we need to really look at this thing because it does not speak well of our democracy.
Okay.
Wrapping up from thank you, Tor. What I find perhaps not the best is the messages that emanate on the platforms of the various places they have gone in the guise of thank you. And, I think it has rather become as if certain candidates are being promoted. So the other will also feel the need that if that is the case, they should also, have a presence and also you say certain things that would. And I refer also to the incident at Bono where there was a showdown between Honorable Kennedy Japan and the chairman of the New Patriotic Party. So I think the messages would have to be looked at. Okay. And it is okay for the candidate who has lost an election to say, thank you so much for doing so and so. And then probably pass a comment here and there to suggest that, these are the reasons why, certain things didn't go well. Is that not against the desire to keep certain things, private? So all these things will have to be looked at going forward. Okay. And I think that it is okay for Honorable Kennedy Japan to say he has withdrawn, because I think the Thank You Tour is one of the events that has been enjoyed by all candidates within his own party who have, like President Kufuor did that, President Kufuor has done that too. Okay. So this is the comment that
all right, good. Let me move on to Honorable Stephen.
What time are we finished? Because I would like to also talk about
because you didn't come early for me, so we're finished.
But if I didn't come early, you should have made me talk long.
Oh, he came earlier than you did.
Anyway.
But just try and then do some 5 minutes from you on that.
Okay. I think some of the things my brother said, I shared his views. Some of them, I think, I disagree, but this is not the time to go into all this. Honestly speaking, without justifying what has happened, me as a member of the NPP fraternity, I would like to say a big sorry to the Ghanaian community. Whatever that has gone on that is not appropriate or is not in the good books of Ghanaians. These things do happen. Honestly, this whole thing about vigilantism and all that started late Nkrumah's time. If you read the history, Matemehon, those CPP, UP, those days, In fact, me, my home, we are royals. What I've been told. Because our family members were staunch Matimeho. You know, this whole thing about Matimeho and stuff like that, fighting, it started from colonial days. People were fighting the white people, and then Nkrumah came and all those things. There were people who even fought before the Big Six.
Yeah.
But because they were not properly educated, my house, they were throwing, according to my grandmother, throwing kenke and bread. Because if you come out, maybe see people who attack you or otherwise. If you have heard the story about Bafo, you know the knife called Bafo?
Yeah.
In the Twi language or dialect. I learned it is as a result of the fact that one person was called Chumesi, one was called Bafo, and then one left CPP to join UP, and the CPP guy came and killed this with that knife. So I don't know which one killed the other.
But the UP who killed it.
No, it's the CPP. Don't change the story. That one I know 100%.
Wait,
but I don't know the name. I mean, whether Chumesi was the CPP or not.
Okay, and that's how the Bafo became popular.
Yeah,
so what we are saying is that this whole thing about political violence started years back. But what one would have expected was that, or had been that, now civilization, globalization, there are new global standards that some of these things, in my opinion, are very primitive and outmoded. Because sometimes the things people say and do, they say it's politics. So politics is meant to destroy society? I don't believe that. Politics rather is meant to provide a platform for redistribution, for security for all, for protection for all, for safety, for food. But politics is not meant to destroy each other. But it has happened. Sometimes it does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother is talking, he's NDC. Honestly speaking, I don't want to even go there and compare. Because you can't even compare the two. That's so many stories. But whether it had happened yesterday or today, they are not good. I think it is not Ohene Kennedy Japan. It is not in his best interest for this thing to happen. The same way it is not in the best interest of His Excellency former President to happen, Vice President. But normally, our followers, and this is where I'm channeling my admonishment. I'm urging them. We are one people. Even NDC, brothers and sisters, are not our enemies. If we all mean to build this country, if we all mean to win power for the NPP, thinking we are the best political party in Ghana and even in Africa, we are one people. Why should somebody go and stab another person? Why should there be acrimonies and attacks? We all have our different opinions about issues on issues. So I am begging everyone to talk to his or her followers. Two, I think going forward, the party body, which has formed the vehicle to conduct some of these exercises, should, preceding such exercises, come out with a clearly defined code of ethics and code of conduct. Because I think even Thanksgiving, I disagree with my brother here. In fact, all that he said, I agree. Just about a couple of things. That Thanksgiving should come with how we lost the election. Because that should have been done, in my opinion, not in a situation that even our enemies, other external stakeholders will also get to know. Because it shouldn't be done in a way that somebody will feel that, oh, I'm being blamed. Once it starts, we are in trouble. So I think a whole lot of things went wrong. But the idea that, oh, we are going to thank people, I agree with him perfectly well. Going forward, I think even Kennedy Japan said he called His Excellency. And he said, I think they are in talks. You know, honestly speaking, even Kennedy Japan, apart from the fact that he exhibits high level of high pitch, high tone animation where he talks and probably he says things as and sometimes other things he says, we all know that, oh, maybe he shouldn't have said A, B, and C. He's somebody with a very positive ulterior motive. I mean, me, I'm a motivist. I normally don't look at a consequentialist will look at what happened. The motivist will look at, oh, what is behind what the person is doing. So, and you look at Vice President, he's a very calm person. I mean, honestly. I mean, so everybody has his demeanor. But we need all these together to build a healthy platform to beat the NDC. So I'm asking my people that if we can really put a very solid team tomorrow to beat the NDC and take back this country to manage, one, there should be coherence. There should be unity. We should foster tranquility. We are one people from the same party, one ideology, and then we always have to be together. Whoever wins this election needs the other person. Other than that, we can't win. We shouldn't forget we were beating over about 1.6 million difference. Within 4 years, it's not easy to recover all this. So we have to be together. But I think MPP is known to be very peaceful. And I want to go back to the CJ.
Okay, so you can do 2 minutes on that for me because our time is done.
So we are finished.
Yeah, we're over.
That one, I think give your time to me. You are my brother.
No, he's not going to talk again. So
I have a...
You see, when you're talking about the CJ thing, I think we are setting a precedent that we should be very careful. I always say that, in my opinion, there are two main areas we should be very careful when it comes to the judiciary and the security. In fact, the strength of every democracy, in my opinion, cardinally or critically, are the two Ds.
Yeah,
there are others though. And thanks be to God, we have a constitution. And the constitution that we have, honestly, falls within, in my opinion, in terms of operation or driving it within the judiciary. And it's the Supreme Court that drives it. Because it's the Supreme Court that has the jurisdiction. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
Now, people want to dwell on separations of power, i.e. legislative power, executive power, and the judiciary, or the judicial power. But our system, when it comes to managing these separations of powers, are basically like the American one, not the UK one. The UK one, it is the parliament, the legislative power, that in terms of sovereignty has the strongest tool. But in Ghana, it is rather the judiciary. And there are so many cases to support this. I mean, Adolfo versus AG, NPP versus AG, there are a lot of them. Abdullahi versus, I think, AG. And even recently, the case of Deputy Speaker, whether he can vote or not.
Okay.
So in all these cases, and if you read the Constitution, Article 1 even to 2, all of them, especially 1 and 2, 1, Article 2, Clause 2, talks about the supremacy of the Constitution. If you go and read about Article 130, Article 17.1, and if you look at, you listen to a restatement from, prominent and remarkable Supreme Court justices, such as Dateba, such as Amoah, such as Justice Akins, and all of them, you realize that what is happening today is very risky. Because now I'm seeing resurrection of this whole controversy over what is called political questioning doctrine in playing with this whole separations of powers. If we don't take care, now Parliament will begin to behave anyhow. Executive will begin to behave anyhow. Judiciary will begin to behave anyhow. And once we get to this level, the beautiful democracy that we have, the sustainable economy, and then the social economy or whatever that we have that is so enviable that the world always tout us, we are beginning to dwindle and kind of deteriorate these structures. I think it is very unnecessary for what is happening. And surprisingly, some of the people who taught me, I'm a law student, I'm not a lawyer, who taught us beautifully some of these things, suddenly, because of politics, the very things they teach students, now they are deviating
from that.
I beg the present president, and I beg the leadership today, I think this, in my opinion, is extremely unnecessary. But if they think they have power, they should know that power is always transient. Power is transient. And we should all be careful that we don't go into areas that the very beautiful democracy that we have, because of the discretion of power, and that discretion is conferred on you by the Constitution. And the constitutions, clearly, the drivers of the constitution is the Supreme Court.
Judiciary, yeah.
So I beg them. I'm not forcing them. They have power. They can use it to do anything they want. But they should remember that posterity and the next generation
will judge all of us.
Will judge all.
All right, many thanks to you. This one is from Honorable Timothy Awantrim, and it says that, good morning, KMJ. I totally agree with Sticker, and I think that is the way forward. And I applaud him for that. But Miracles Abuaje should be advised. And it comes again saying, I can now see that Sticker has completely changed from his weeping days to a more matured version than when he was on the weeping tour.
They have any time. And let me correct this. Yeah. They said that NPP was in opposition at cry. It's fake. It was your own Adam. Go and ask them. It's not true.
Yeah.
And now the way in America they call it, is it keep fake or something?
Deep fake.
Deep fake. Sorry, I'm very sorry. Deep fake. The way now the TikTok and the social media, you know what I was saying?
Yeah.
It's risky. They do things like that. You believe everything they say. After all, recently, Eric Opoku, he didn't cry. Obama cried in public. This is nothing. I'm not worried about that thing they are talking about. But the way just an incident, and they even change the story. Every time they let me speak something which is not even what they change the story. But my brother, I think it's better to weep as a Christian than to steal state resources.
That's true.
I've been staying for 30 years. I'm not perfect. Nobody can say that Sticker I've stolen. And that's what matters.
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much for the time this morning. I'm grateful. That's Honorable Stephen Amoah you had this morning. He's the MP for Nshiazu constituency, joining us this morning here on the show. And also, Mr. Osei Griffiths is also joining us this morning as well. A very big thank you to you as well for joining us today. Here on a holiday, they should be resting, but they decided to make time for us here on the show. We are grateful. And today is your birthday. Happy birthday to Benjamin Kofi Kwashi, His Excellency. He's the chairman of the Council of Elders, the NDC South Africa. And he's also one of the panel members that come on the show here on Prime On and your News Flash. And so we wish you the very best of your day. That's His Excellency Benjamin Kofi Kwashi, the chairman of the Council of Elders, NDC South Africa. And also, let me say a special condolences going out to the Queen Mother of Asante Mampong. Nana Ajankoma Tifie II. You were the occupant of the silver stool.
Yes, was it last week or this week?
Yeah, we lost the Mampong.
But I went there, the announcement had not been made, so I went there, I had this project there, so I went to visit her.
Yes, Nana Bonsu II. A very, very
she's a great queen.
Yeah. Ajankoma Tifie II, the very great Queen Mother. And our condolences to you, a very special one going out to you, my dear sister.
I should have said that.
And we know that this really, really hurts you so much. And,
just made a
we're hoping and praying that the good Lord comforts all the entire Mampong, the people of Mampong. I'm not, but the Diffie is.
So my condolences to the entire Ghanaian community, Asanteman and Otumfo.
Otumfo himself, yes. He wasn't even around when the incident happened.
And now we are coming home to do as usual.
You know Mampong. He was a very, very...
Yes, he was the registrar of KNU.
And very intelligent.
Very intelligent. And so, yes, our special condolences go out to the entire family as well. And especially once again to you, my dear sister, Nana Ajankoma Tifie II.